He did not exist. In the digital ledgers of the world, Dr. Raman Khalil was a null set. He had no social media, no credit history, no public-facing academic profile. To the Israeli intelligence apparatus, he was a phantom haunting the margins of satellite intercepts and encrypted chatter, a name whispered between Tehran, Damascus, and the concrete warrens of the Gaza Strip. But in the files of Mossad's Metzada, Special Operations Division, he was Target Profile 77B, codenamed Radium. Khalil was a physicist of deceptive brilliance. While the world watched Gaza's crude rockets, Khalil was working on something else. Not a bomb, in the traditional sense. Gaza had no path to fissionable material. Khalil was a specialist in dispersal. He was the man tasked with weaponizing radiological material, with designing a device compact enough to be smuggled, powerful enough to render a square kilometer of Tel Aviv uninhabitable for a century. A dirty bomb. His doctorate was from Tehran. His postdoctoral work, it was believed, was completed in the sealed, subterranean facilities of North Korea. He was the intellectual successor to the Iranian nuclear program's architects, but his focus was narrower, dirtier, and in many ways, more terrifying. He moved like smoke. A Sayyanim, a Jewish helper in Istanbul, reported a man matching his thin, ascetic description at a materials science conference. A Jordanian signals intercept picked up his call sign, Al-Kimyai, the chemist, in a conversation with an IRGC Quds Force handler. But his home, his center of gravity, was Gaza. He operated from a nondescript apartment block in Khan Yunis, a building indistinguishable from the thousands of pockmarked concrete structures surrounding it. His laboratory was believed to be 3 levels down, shielded by reinforced concrete and a civilian population. He was, in tactical terms, untouchable. In the early morning of May 14th, a drone feed captured a thermal image. A man, matching Khalil's build, stepping onto a balcony for precisely 3 minutes, holding a small, dark object, a cup of coffee. The image was grainy, distorted by heat bloom, but it was enough. The ghost had cast a shadow. The Intelligence Directorate, Oman, confirmed the visual. The file was activated. The debate in the glass-walled offices of Hakiria, the IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv, was no longer if, it was how. How do you kill a man who lives behind a human shield, who has no digital footprint, and whose death is paramount to national security? The file was transferred, marked with the highest possible priority, to the desk of the Mossad director. The room, known simply as the Aquarium, sits on the 8th floor of Mossad's headquarters in the Glilo complex, north of Tel Aviv. It is a sealed-off conference room, impervious to any form of electronic eavesdropping. Inside, the air was stale with recycled oxygen and tension. The Mossad director, a man known only by the Hebrew initial Y, sat at the head of the table. Flanking him were the heads of Caesarea, Operations, Zomet, Human Intelligence, and Unit 8200, Signals Intelligence. He is not building a rocket. Y began, his voice a low rasp. He slid a single reconnaissance photo across the polished wood. The thermal image from Khan Yunis. He is building a terror weapon. Amman estimates he is 6 months from a viable dispersal device. The Prime Minister is impatient. He wants radium erased. The head of Caesarea, a former Sayeret Matkal commando named Eitan, leaned forward. The physical options are non-existent. The apartment in Khan Yunis is a fortress. We put a Kedon team on the ground, they're dead. The collateral from an airstrike. He motioned to a different file. We'd kill 40 civilians to get 1 man. The blowback would be catastrophic. Politically, it's suicide. He's paranoid, added the head of Tzomit. Our assets in Gaza can't get near him. He doesn't meet anyone. He doesn't leave the building for weeks at a time. The Iranians have him wrapped in cotton wool. He's a ghost. A silence settled on the room. This was the new face of warfare. The targets were no longer politicians in public squares or commanders in military convoys. They were academics in basements, code-named shadows living between the digital and physical worlds. Y turned to the man at the end of the table, the youngest person in the room. This was Brigadier General Avi, the commander of Unit 8200. He was a mathematician, not a spy, and he looked it. You have nothing for us, Avi? Y asked. Avi pushed his glasses up his nose. He has no footprint because he is disciplined. He uses no known email, no social media. His known associates use burner phones and they swap them daily. He is, as you say, a ghost. So we are blind, Eitan said, frustrated. Not entirely, Avi replied, placing a small black laptop on the table. He turned it on. He is disciplined, but he is also human. He's a scientist. He needs data. He needs to communicate with his handlers in Tehran. We've been looking for his signal for months. 2 nights ago, we found it. He brought up a screen filled with scrolling code. It's a custom-built encrypted messaging application. It routes through servers in 3 different countries, spoofing its origin. It's brilliant. But for 13 seconds, during a solar flare that disrupted a satellite uplink, one of its nodes failed. And for 13 seconds, we saw its signature. You have his phone? Y asked. No, Avi said. We have the idea of his phone. We know its make, its operating system, and the specific proprietary software it uses. It is a digital needle in a global haystack. But we know what the needle looks like. And what do you propose to do with it, Avi? Eitan asked, skeptical. Send him a text message? Avi met the commando's gaze. No, Eitan. We're going to find that phone. We're going to own it. And then, we're going to use its own signal to kill him. The hunt began in the sprawling subterranean campus of Unit 8200, Israel's Cyber Intelligence Corps. This was not a world of trench coats and dead drops. It was a realm of fiber optics, quantum computing, and zero-day exploits. Avi's team, a collection of prodigies, some not yet old enough to shave, were tasked with the impossible, finding a single unidentified smartphone located somewhere in the most densely populated, electronically noisy patch of land on Earth. They called the operation Digital Handshake. Khalil is smart, explained a 21-year-old analyst named Maya. He's not just offline. He's using a custom-built military-grade encrypted platform, likely supplied by the IRGC. We can't crack the encryption. Trying to is a waste of time. The content is irrelevant. What matters, she continued, pointing to a complex diagram of data packets, is the behavior of the signal, the handshake. When his phone talks to the server in Tehran, it performs a specific set of protocols. It's like a secret knock. For weeks, they did nothing but listen. They deployed Gilgamesh, a deep packet inspection platform, to monitor all data flowing out of the Gaza Strip. It was a torrent of petabytes. Social media, video streams, financial transactions, Hamas communications. It was chaos. The team built a filter. They weren't looking for words or images. They were looking for that knock. They were looking for a 64-kilobyte packet of data, performing a specific 3-way handshake, bouncing to a server in Belarus, then to Venezuela, then finally to a known IRGC hub in Tehran. For 22 days, there was nothing. The analysts worked in 12-hour shifts, their eyes burning from the glow of the data streams. Morale dipped. The pressure from Tel Aviv was immense. Every day Khalil was operational, the radium clock ticked down. Then at 03:17 a.m. on the 23rd day, an alarm chimed. Got it, Maya whispered. On her screen, a single line of data, highlighted in red, pulsed. It was the handshake. It was him. The signal was weak, originating from the Khan Yunis sector, but it was unmistakable. He's active, she announced to the quiet command center. For the next 48 hours, they tracked him. The signal would appear, transmit for no more than 90 seconds, then vanish. It was a brilliant piece of counter-surveillance. The app was programmed to transmit small, compressed bursts of data, then go dormant, purging its own cache. He's not just using the app, Avi observed, studying the logs. He's only using it from one location, his clean room, the one in the basement. We can't get a man in, Eitan reiterated over a secure line. We don't need a man, Avi replied. We have his signal. Now, we need his device. The next phase of the operation began. They couldn't break the encryption, so they would have to break the phone itself. They needed a 0-day, an unknown, unpatched vulnerability in the phone's operating system. And to find that, they needed to know the exact hardware. They cross-referenced the signal's faint electronic emissions against a database of every known mobile chipset. It took another week. The result came back. It was a niche Android-based smartphone, a model built by a small Chinese firm, favored by intelligence agencies for its robust hardware and customizable security. And like all hardware, it had a flaw. The target was a Tiansu M19, a device virtually unknown outside of the intelligence community. It was designed to be secure, but secure to the exploit developers of Unit 8200's Unit 700 was just a challenge. The M19's firmware has a vulnerability, briefed the Unit 700 commander, a man known only as Shay. It's in the chipset that processes GPS data. The manufacturer cut a corner to improve signal acquisition speed. They created a buffer overflow vulnerability. In layman's terms, if you sent the phone's GPS module a very specific, malformed string of data, you could force it to execute code it wasn't supposed to. It's a locked door, Shay explained, using an analogy. We can't pick the lock. We can't blow it open. But we've just discovered that if you whistle a specific tune, the hinges fall off. The problem remained: how to whistle the tune, how to deliver the payload, the malicious code, to a phone that never browsed the web, never opened an email, and only used one hyper-secure app. We can't push the exploit to him, Maya said. He's behind too many firewalls, so we have to make him pull it. The plan was audacious. It was conceived by Avi and Shay, and it relied on a deep understanding of human psychology as much as technology. They couldn't breach his app. They couldn't breach his phone directly, but they could target the network he relied on. The Gilgamesh platform identified the specific cell towers in Khan Yunis that Khalil's phone shook hands with during its brief transmissions. Mossad's Caesarea division activated a Katsa, a field officer in Gaza. Not a commando, but a technician, posing as an employee of the local telecom provider. Over 2 nights, this agent gained access to 3 key cell towers. He didn't disable them. He installed a small, man-in-the-middle device, a stinger. This device would lie dormant. It would do nothing until it detected the specific 64-kilobyte secret knock of Khalil's phone. The moment Khalil's phone reached out to the Tehran server, the stinger would intercept it. It wouldn't block the signal. It would impersonate the Tehran server. For a fraction of a second, the stinger would become the trusted source. And in that microsecond, it would inject the payload. It would whistle the tune. The payload, codenamed Ephialtes, after the Greek traitor who showed the Persians a secret path, was less than 2 kilobytes. It wasn't a virus. It was a key. Its one and only function: to gain root access to the M19's GPS module and unlock it for an external user. It would turn the most secure phone in Gaza into a listening post, a beacon, a target. They tested the exploit 1,000 times in a lab in Tel Aviv on an identical Tiansu M19. It worked every time. Now, they just had to wait for the ghost to make a call. The waiting was the hardest part. For 4 days, the Khan Yunis sector was quiet. Khalil, disciplined as ever, remained electronically silent. The team in the 8200 bunker watched the data stream, fueled by caffeine and anxiety. He's late for his check-in, the Tsomet analyst noted. His IRGC handler is getting nervous. We're picking up increased chatter on their side. Good, Avi said. Let them be nervous. He'll have to report in. At 1:47 a.m. on the 5th day, the red light pulsed. Maya's console lit up. Handshake! Handshake detected at Tower 4 Beta. In Khan Yunis, the Stinger device, powered by a small lithium-ion battery, woke from its sleep. Khalil's phone, deep in its concrete bunker, sent out its encrypted packet. Hello, Tehran. This is Al-Kimyai. Are you there? The Stinger intercepted it. Before the signal could even begin its journey to the satellite, the Stinger replied, Hello, Al-Kimyai. Tehran here. Stand by for authentication. To Khalil's phone, everything was normal. But as the authentication occurred, the Stinger injected the Ephialtes payload. The malformed GPS data, disguised as a routine security certificate update, hit the M19's chipset. In the 8200 bunker, a new window opened on Maya's screen. It was stark white, with a single black blinking cursor. We're in, she breathed. The room erupted, not in cheers, but in a sudden, sharp flurry of activity. The switch was complete. The Stinger on the cell tower disengaged. Khalil's phone, now compromised, completed its actual handshake with the real Tehran server 90 seconds later. Dr. Ramin Khalil, secure in his basement, typed a quick message. Delay due to local network instability. Progress is 90%, awaiting final component. He hit send, disconnected, and powered down his phone, unaware that Ifyalialts was now burrowed deep in its hardware. The exploit was designed to be persistent. Even if he powered the phone off and on, even if he swapped the SIM card, the malware would remain invisible, embedded in the firmware of the GPS module itself. They had him. Activate Odysseus, Avi ordered. Odysseus was the second and primary function of the exploit. With the GPS module now under their control, 8200 didn't just read his location, they commanded it. They could see his coordinates in real time, down to a single meter. But they could also do something else, something terrifyingly new. They could, with a single command, force the phone's GPS module to broadcast its own precise location, not to the GPS satellite network, but on a specific encrypted military frequency. The phone was no longer just a phone. It was a homing beacon, a target designation laser that the target himself carried in his own pocket. While Unit 8200 celebrated their digital victory, the file landed on Eitan's desk at Caesarea headquarters. The how had been established. Now the when and where had to be solved. The target was still in his bunker. So Avi has his phone, Eitan said to his deputy Elon. He can tell me what brand of coffee Khalil drinks, but the man is still 3 levels underground, surrounded by 20 families. The Air Force says they cannot penetrate the bunker without a GBU-28, Elon noted. A 5,000-pound bomb. The building won't just collapse, it will be liquefied. We'd be killing over 100 people. Unacceptable, Eitan stated. The mission is elimination, not massacre. We are not them. The problem was agonizing. They had the perfect tracking device, but the target was unactionable. They were in a state of strategic paralysis. They could watch him, listen to him. The exploit had also activated the microphone, but they could not touch him. For 3 weeks, the Mossad listened to the intimate details of Dr. Ramin Khalil's life. They heard him argue with his wife, though they never saw her. They heard him hum classical music, Wagner, ironically, while he worked on his equations. They heard him, in a moment of frustration, smash a piece of equipment. They heard his quiet whispered prayers at dawn. He became, to the analysts, human. He was no longer Radium, the Phantom. He was Ramin, the 42-year-old physicist who snored, who drank his coffee too loudly, and who was building a weapon to murder thousands. This was the psychological burden of modern intelligence. The godlike omniscience, the intimate access, brought with it a disquieting familiarity. He's moving, Maya reported one morning, her voice flat. The GPS coordinates on her screen, which had been static for 23 days, suddenly began to drift. He's on the first floor. Now, he's outside. He's on the street. Eitan's office was patched in instantly. All assets spin up, he commanded. A Zeke and Hermes 450 drone, which had been circling at 18,000 feet, focused its high-powered optics on the coordinates. There, a man in a gray jacket carrying a simple plastic grocery bag, walking north on Omar Mukhtar Street. It was him, Ramin Khalil, in the open. Why? Elon asked, stunned. Why would he break cover? The microphone on the phone provided the answer. A woman's voice, his wife. Just get the milk, Ramin. The boy is sick. I cannot go. Just get the milk and come back. No one will see you. He was on a domestic errand. He's vulnerable, Eitan said, his heart pounding. He's in the open. We have a Qaeda team in Ashkelon, Elon said. We can have them at the Erez crossing in 20. Get them into Gaza. No. Eitan cut him off. Too slow. He'll be back in the bunker in 10 minutes. The window is now. Call the Air Force. I want a Tizvi, a stag on station, now. Tizvi was the code for an armed F-16. Eitan, the Air Force liaison protested. He's on a crowded street. The smallest weapon we have is a 500-pound bomb. The collateral. Eitan watched the green dot of the drone feed move through the crowded market. Khalil stopped to look at some fruit. A child ran past him. Stand down, Eitan said, his voice tight with anger. Stand down. The window is closed. The team watched in silence as Dr. Khalil bought a carton of milk and walked back to his apartment building. The GPS signal became static again, disappearing back into the earth. The human element had saved him. The simple, mundane act of buying milk had rendered Mossad's billion-dollar surveillance system useless. The failure in the market sent a shockwave through the operation. The Prime Minister was furious. "Why?" The Mossad director was apoplectic. "He was in the open, and we let him walk." Y yelled over the secure line to Eitan. "And what would you have had me do?" Eitan shot back. "Kill 20 shoppers and a child to get him? Start a war? We are Mossad, not ISIS. Find me a cleaner shot." The problem remained. Khalil was unactionable in Gaza. The risk of collateral damage was too high, and the political fallout would be disastrous. "If we can't strike him at home," Y said, his voice calmer, "then we must lure him out." The plan was shifted to Tzomet, the Human Intelligence Division. The new operation was codenamed Trojan Horse. They knew from the 8200 intercepts that Khalil was waiting on a final component, a specific high-purity gyroscope, essential for the guidance system of the dispersal device. The shipment, originating in Russia, was being routed through a front company in Cyprus. Tzomet decided to intercept it. A Katsa team, working with Cypriot intelligence, raided the shipping company's warehouse in Limassol. They didn't just seize the gyroscopes, they replaced them. The new gyroscopes, provided by Israeli defense contractor Rafael, were identical in every way but one. They were fitted with a subtle flaw. They would work, but they would fail under the specific G-forces of a launch. The bait was set. The shipment was allowed to proceed. A week later, the microphone on Khalil's phone picked up a stream of furious curses. The component had arrived, but it was filth. It failed his tests. Al-Kimyai to Tehran. "The component is useless. The entire project is stalled. I must procure a replacement myself." This was the response Tzomet had been waiting for. Tehran, desperate for results, agreed. They arranged for Khalil to travel to a secure location to meet a new supplier. But he wouldn't fly from Cairo or cross at Rafah. The IRGC had a different route. A fishing trawler from the Gaza coast, traveling under cover of darkness to a freighter in international waters. The destination, Beirut. "He's leaving Gaza," the Tzomet head announced in the aquarium. "He will be in Beirut for 48 hours. He is ours." Eitan, however, was uneasy. "Beirut is Hezbollah's backyard. It's as bad as Gaza. It's a different fortress." "Not if he is drawn out," the Tzomet head replied. "We've compromised the supplier he's meeting. It's our asset. We will set the meeting. We will choose the location." The plan was simple. Lure Khalil to a safe house in the Christian-controlled district of Achrafi. The house would be rigged. A Keyed-on team would be waiting. It would be a wet operation, close, personal, and silent. The digital hunt had failed. The human element was back in play. The fishing trawler Al-Nasser slipped out of the Gaza blockade at 02 Welsh AM, its transponder off, its hull low in the water. It navigated a blind spot in the Israeli naval radar, a corridor known to smugglers. But it was not blind. From 20,000 feet, the Zik drone watched its thermal signature. And in the 8200 bunker, Maya watched the bright, unwavering dot of the Tiansu M19 move across the dark expanse of the Mediterranean. "He's on the boat," she confirmed. "Coordinates locked." "Let him go," Y ordered. "We don't want him in the water. We want him in Beirut." The supplier Khalil was meeting was a Lebanese arms dealer named Marwan. Marwan had been on Mossad's payroll for 6 years. He was a double asset, and his life depended on this operation's success. Marwan set the meeting for 11 p.m. at an apartment in Akrafie, a neighborhood chosen for its easy surveillance and, crucially, its distance from Hezbollah's southern stronghold. A 3-man Keyed-on team, specialists in close-in assassination, had been inserted into Beirut 2 days prior. They were armed with suppressed 9mm pistols and garrots. They were already in the apartment waiting. The apartment's audio was being streamed live to Caesarea headquarters. Khalil arrived in Lebanon and was taken to a Hamas safe house. For 10 hours, he did not move. The GPS signal was static. Then at 10:30 p.m., it began to move. "He's mobile," Eitan said, watching the dot creep across a digital map of Beirut. "He's in a black Mercedes. He's alone, but for the driver." "Team is set," the Keyed-on leader whispered over the encrypted comms. "We are green." The Mercedes pulled up to the building. The drone feed showed Khalil get out. He looked up and down the street, then entered the lobby. In the 8200 bunker, Maya monitored the phone. "He's in the elevator, 3rd floor, 4th floor." In the apartment, the Keyed-on team heard the ding of the elevator, then footsteps. The asset, Marwan, opened the door. "Alan, Dr. Khalil, please come in." "Marwan." Khalil's voice was tense. The microphone on his phone was crystal clear. "You have the component?" Of course. "Sit. Some tea?" "No tea. The component." The Keyed-on leader, hiding in a bedroom, gave the hand signal. 2 steps. That's all he needed. "It is here," Marwan said, turning to a briefcase on a table. At that exact moment, Khalil's Tiansu M19 in his pocket vibrated. Khalil froze. He pulled it out. This was not the secure app. A new message had appeared on his lock screen. It was not a text. It was a single flashing red warning icon. "What is this?" Khalil murmured. The phone, his secure, custom-built IRGC phone, was doing something it had never done. In the 8200 bunker, Avi and Maya watched in horror. "What is that? We didn't send that." The phone vibrated again, this time emitting a loud, piercing siren. It was a failsafe, a dead man's switch. The IRGC, it turned out, had their own exploit. They had embedded a proximity alert. The phone had just detected the Keyed-on team's encrypted communication gear. Khalil looked up at Marwan, his eyes wide with sudden cold understanding. "Who are you?" he hissed. He didn't wait for an answer. He threw his briefcase at Marwan and bolted for the door. "Go, go, go!" the Keyed-on leader screamed, bursting from the bedroom. He fired 2 rounds. The first missed. The second grazed Khalil's shoulder as he crashed into the hallway. The Keyed-on team scrambled after him, but it was too late. Khalil threw himself down the stairwell, adrenaline overriding the pain. He burst onto the street. His driver, seeing him bleeding, opened fire with a submachine gun, providing cover. Khalil dove into the Mercedes. The car peeled out, tires smoking. The operation was blown. The trap had failed. The recriminations were brutal. The Keyed-on team was extracted by sea, but the asset, Marwan, was burned. He was found by Hezbollah's security service 2 days later, his body dumped in a wadi. The Beirut trap had not only failed, it had exposed Mossad's hand. Worse, it had alerted Khalil. "He knows," Avi said in the debriefing. "He doesn't know how, but he knows his phone is compromised. He knows he's being tracked. So he'll destroy it," Eitan said. "The asset is gone." "No," Maya interrupted. "Look." She brought up her screen. The GPS signal from the Tiansu M19 was still active, but it wasn't in Beirut. It wasn't in Gaza. It was moving west, over the Mediterranean. He didn't destroy the phone, Avi realized. He couldn't. It's his only line to Tehran, his only way to complete the project. But he's paranoid, Maya added. He knows the phone is a liability, so he gave it to someone else. They watched the signal. It was on a commercial airliner. They checked the manifests. The phone was in the luggage of a Lebanese student on his way to a university in Germany. "A decoy," Eitan spat. "A digital ghost. He's shed his skin." The room fell silent. They had lost him. The multi-million-dollar exploit, the months of work, were all focused on a useless piece of electronics flying to Berlin. Dr. Ramin Khalil had vanished again. "He will be in Gaza," Eitan said, rubbing his temples. "He has to be. He has to get back to his lab. He will go back to ground, and we will never see him again." "No," Avi said. His voice was quiet, but his eyes were intense. "He's human. He failed. His suppliers failed. He's a scientist. When the tools fail, what do? You get new tools," Maya finished the thought. "Exactly," Avi said. "He won't trust any phone from the IRGC. He won't trust any hardware he doesn't vet himself. He will need a new, clean device, and he will need to connect it to the internet to download his proprietary app." "He won't be that stupid," Eitan argued. "He has no choice," Avi countered. His project is 90% complete. He is under immense pressure. He will take a calculated risk. He will find what he thinks is a secure, clean network, just for a few minutes, to re-establish contact. The 8200 team went back to work. They were no longer hunting for the M19's secret knock. They were hunting for the fingerprint of the secure app itself. They were waiting for that app to be downloaded anywhere in the Middle East from a new Virgin device. They were hunting for the first faint signal of Radium 2.0. "We failed," Eitan said, "because we tried to be human. We tried a wet op. We tried to lure him. We tried to outspy him." Avi looked at the code scrolling on his screen. "The human element is unreliable. It's messy. It's emotional." He pointed to the blank map, waiting for a signal. "The machine is not. The logic is clean. He will connect. The code will find him. And when it does, no more Kaidon, no more safe houses. The Air Force will handle it." The strategy had shifted. The error in Beirut had convinced them. The human touch was a liability. The solution had to be purely, coldly technological. Dr. Khalil was, as Eitan had predicted, back in Gaza. He had been smuggled back in by sea, arriving on a dark, moonless night. He was shaken. The wound in his shoulder was crude, stitched by a Hamas doctor. He had seen the face of Mossad and it had unnerved him. He felt the digital noose tightening, but he was, as Avi had predicted, a man under pressure. His handlers in Tehran were apoplectic about the Beirut failure. The Radium project was their flagship. Failure was not an option. He holed up, not in his Khan Yunis apartment. He now considered it compromised, but in a different location, a university office. The Islamic University of Gaza. He believed wrongly that Mossad would never strike such a sensitive public civilian target. He acquired a new phone, a different model purchased from a smuggler, guaranteed, clean. For 72 hours he worked, converting the office into a makeshift lab. He was careful. He kept the phone off. But he had to download his app. He had to contact Tehran. He waited until 03 a.m., a time when network traffic was lowest. He activated a VPN router, routing his signal through Eastern Europe. He felt secure. He powered on the new phone and connected to the university's Wi-Fi. He opened the encrypted browser and navigated to the IRGC's private repository. He typed in his credentials. He clicked download. In the 8200 bunker, an alarm, silent for weeks, blared. "We have him," Maya shouted. "Islamic University. He's downloading the app package." This was the moment. They didn't have a 0 day for this new phone. The Efialtes exploit was useless, but they didn't need it. "He's downloading," Avi said, his voice cold. "He's on an open, relatively open network. We can't infect his phone, but we can target his signal." "Eitan," Avi said over the comms. "The target is static. Top floor of the engineering building, Islamic University. He is online right now." Eitan's heart sank. "The university?" "Avi, it's a school. The cabinet will never approve it. It's worse than the market. It's a symbolic target. He's there now. This is the window. It's 3 a.m. The building is empty." "It doesn't matter," Eitan said. "The roof is civilian. We can't hit it." "Then we wait," Avi said, a predatory stillness in his voice. "He's downloaded the app. He will use it. He will go mobile. He thinks he's safe now. He thinks his new phone is clean. But it's not," Maya said, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "We can't control this phone, but as long as he's using that app, we can see him." The secret knock protocol was still the same. The app, even on the new phone, still had to shake hands with Tehran, and 8200 was listening for that knock. The signal went dormant. Khalil had finished his download and powered down. "He's gone dark," Maya reported. "He'll be back," Avi said. "And he'll be on the move. He won't risk staying in one place." He learned that much. The new plan was simple. No more traps. No more Kaidon teams. They would wait for Khalil to move. They would wait for him to be in a clean kill box, a location with 0 risk of collateral damage. And the moment his GPS signal became active, they would kill him. The waiting lasted 4 days. The team at 8200 existed in a state of suspended animation. They knew Khalil was in Gaza. They knew he had his new, clean phone. They were waiting for him to use it. The pressure came as expected from Tehran. Intercepts showed his handlers were demanding a proof of life for the project. At 11:52 a.m. on a bright, clear Tuesday, the signal appeared. "Handshake! We have the handshake!" Maya announced. The signal wasn't from the university. It wasn't from Khan Yunis. It was mobile. "He's in a vehicle," Avi said, mapping the coordinates. "A blue Opel. He's on the Salah al-Din road heading south." Eitan was patched in. Drone feed. Now. The Zik drone, which had been in a lazy holding pattern, pivoted its camera. It zoomed in on the coordinates provided by 8200. There. A blue Opel, moving at a steady 60 kilometers per hour. "Confirmed," the drone operator said. "Single occupant, male, matches the profile." "Where is he?" Eitan demanded. "He's in an open area," the analyst replied, his voice quickening. "He's just past Deir al-Bala. It's farmland. Nothing around him for at least a half kilometer. No other cars. This was it. The perfect shot. The clean kill box. Why would he do this? Elon asked. Why would he be so exposed? It's the new paranoia, Avi said. He thinks we're in the buildings. He thinks we're in the city. He thinks the open road is safe. He's wrong. In the blue Opel, Dr. Ramin Khalil was holding his new phone, a live encrypted voice call connected to his IRGC handler. He was reassuring him. Yes, the project is back on track. The setback in Beirut was just that. I am fully operational. The device will be ready in... He's on a live call, Maya reported. The app is active. His GPS module is broadcasting. Air Force, Eitan commanded, his voice devoid of emotion. You are cleared to engage. Target is the blue Opel. Codename Radium. Execute. In the sky, 6 miles away and 2 miles up, an Israeli Air Force F-16I Sufa banked gently. Zv-11 locked on target, the pilot said. But he wasn't locked on the car. He was locked on a signal. The weapon was not a 500-pound bomb. It was something new, a Spice 250 glide bomb. But it had been modified by 8200 and Raphael. Its primary guidance was not optical or even standard GPS. Its primary guidance was a receiver, tuned to the specific encrypted frequency that Avi's team had identified, the frequency of the Al-Kimyai app. The bomb wasn't aiming for a car. It was aiming for the phone. Weapon away, the pilot reported. The bomb fell, not like a bomb, but like a missile. It was silent. From the blue Opel, Dr. Khalil would not have heard it. He would not have seen it. He was, at that moment, staring at his phone, at the GPS map, assuring his handler of his exact, safe location. In the 8200 bunker, 2 signals were displayed on the main screen. One was a red dot, moving south. This was the Spice bomb, its own GPS transmitting its position. The other was a blue dot, moving south. This was Dr. Ramin Khalil's phone, its secret knock being monitored in real time. The room was utterly silent. The analysts watched the 2 dots. This was not war as their fathers knew it. There was no smoke, no sound of battle, no blood. There was only data. 2 streams of data destined to meet. The logic of the machine was absolute. The pilot, miles away, watched on his monitor. The drone, miles above, watched with its all-seeing eye. The Sayanim in the telecom building, the Katsa in Cyprus, the Kedon team back in Tel Aviv, all were links in a chain that led to this single, inevitable point. On the screen, the red dot accelerated. The blue dot continued its steady pace. 5 seconds. Maya whispered. Khalil in the car was saying, "The final gyroscope is the only hurdle. I am confident." Convergence, the Air Force liaison stated, his voice flat. The red dot and the blue dot merged. On Maya's screen, the blue dot vanished. The handshake signal abruptly ceased. The line of data flatlined. On the drone feed, the blue Opel simply ceased to exist. One frame, it was a car on a road. The next, it was a cloud of black smoke and atomized metal. The explosion was precise, catastrophic, and total. The road itself was barely scorched. The radium file was closed. In the 8200 bunker, no one cheered. Avi simply pushed his glasses up his nose and closed his laptop. The ghost had been erased. The threat was neutralized. The operation was a perfect, sterile success. A man had been killed, not by a bullet or a human hand, but by a logic loop. He had been targeted by his own paranoia, hunted by his own discipline, and, in the end, eliminated by the very signal he believed was his shield. The GPS signal, his own "I am here," had been turned into a "he is here." It was the weapon, the coordinates, and the epitaph, all in one. The convergence was complete.